Hey folks, we are going to take a look at a video of mine from about 5 years ago. So we're throwing it back a little bit, and this is going to be episode 2 of the self-critical series, where I look at my old GoPro videos and I pick out the good and the bad, and I explain some stuff and hopefully teach you some things. So like I said, this is a 5-year-old video, so it's a little bit out of date, but it's still relevant, I think, because it shows a pretty high-level Pro Tour race in the middle of the pack, and there's a lot of good battling going on, and there's a lot of craziness going on, so we're just going to dive into it and kind of take a look and break it down as we go through. So, as you can see, I'm starting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-ish rows back. So that's not a great starting spot in any field, but especially in a aggressive, crazy field like a tag senior Pro Tour field. So going into this, you kind of have to imagine that it's going to be a little bit of Murphy's Law here, and whatever is going to go wrong will go wrong. But you also have to be prepared for opportunities. Like I said, there's plenty of go-karts to pass here, so there's a lot of opportunities. So you can see the start. It went all right. It's kind of tough coming down into that 90 here. There's not a lot of space to go anywhere. Cars are just kind of moving around here. So on a start like this, the goal is kind of to spot the holes and go through them. It's kind of like driving on the highway in crazy traffic, and if you're driving like a real a-hole and you're just trying to weave in and out of the lanes, that's kind of what you're doing on the start of a race like this. So you can see there, this is Chris Wareheim in the 16 in front of me. He went to the inside there, moved the guy up a little bit, slowed him down, and that allowed me to get to his outside and go around the outside of him in this corner, which isn't normally like a great passing spot, but I saw an opportunity there because he was slowed down. I knew I could claim this position, get to the outside, and claim the corner before he could do anything about it. So I kind of had to take that one. You can see defending a little bit down into this corner. Field's all bunched up. Everybody's kind of defending a little bit, going for the moves. On the start like this, if you're not moving forward, you're going to be moving backwards. So typically you'll see most people are just going to be defending pretty hard on the opening lap here. You can see these guys in front, they're kind of just driving the bottom a little bit. Everybody's kind of just frantically trying to get free spots while they can. I saw a hole there, and I didn't quite get through it before it closed, so I had a bad run down the straightaway. Fortunately, I was able to defend it a little bit and not lose a position. Would have been pretty easy to get drafted by there, so I got a little bit lucky. So one thing you want to note also, it's cool that I paused this right when I'm driving into the back of Eves here. Really great spot to pause it. So let's just go back 2 seconds here and look at the straightaway. So one thing that's really important to always keep in mind, regardless of what race you're in, no matter what, you want to have as much information as possible. You want to have as much information as possible on the guys you're racing against. So it's helpful to race against the same people every weekend. That's, then you can get a good grasp on how those guys drive. You don't always have that luxury, especially when you're traveling and doing bigger races and stuff. You're racing against a lot of guys that you've never raced against before. I've been around long enough that I've raced with most of these people quite a few times. But even when you don't race against them every weekend, you can gather a lot of information in the race. Everything that happens in the race, you should be absorbing and storing it in your brain for later. So, for example, on this opening lap here, we can see, like I mentioned before, we've got Wareheim in the 16 up here, and you can see he's defending hard, and then he's going for moves right away. So he's driving pretty aggressively, which, nothing wrong with that. So But you want to keep that in mind. So you can see here going down this straightaway, he's already driving down on the bottom of the track on this straightaway. So I want to keep that in mind for later. Like if something could happen here. We could get a mix-up going on up here just based on the way these guys are driving. I mean, they're just throwing it in on each other constantly this first lap. So you got to know there's going to be an opportunity here to do something to get a couple spots. Again, I paused it right when my bumper was buried in the back of Eve's. So I'm just kind of shoving these guys around, and it's not really to like upset them or send them off the track. Keep in mind this is before pushback bumpers too, so it was a little bit more bump and grind back then. But mainly what I'm trying to do is, I mean, there's 3 carts here, and they're going side by side for like 4 consecutive corners, and they're just losing time to the group in front of us. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to push somebody through the hole so we can get lined up again. Because if we're just going to drive side by side for this whole race, I mean, we might as well pull in. We're not going to be able to go any further. We're not racing for 12th place or wherever we're at now. We want to be going forward. So we got to get lined up and get straightened out and start turning fast laps again. So that's what I was trying to do there. You can see I got by Geringer and Eves there. Into 4 I got Geringer, and now we've got some clear track. Newcastle is not always, somebody's in the dirt in front of me. Newcastle is not always at the track that you want clear track necessarily, just because the draft is so important here with the long straightaways. But at a race like this, especially in like this class, you know there's going to be chaos the entire race. So you know there's going to be opportunities to catch back up, get a drafting partner, and continue your move forward if that's what you're doing. So you can see here again, going down this straightaway again, Wareheim's driving on the bottom of the track. These guys are fighting really hard. And here, like I just said, I called it. There's an opportunity. So now I'm already back up to these guys' bumper. So we've got Pagano here in the 2. Wareheim's going right back by him again. And slowing these guys down. I see an opportunity. Couldn't really get it done there because that corner is off camber and it's fast. So it's not a huge braking zone. You can make that lunge work. But I had Wareheim in front there, so I couldn't just chuck it in because I would have drove right over the top of him. So I kind of had to back out and let Pagano have that one. Wounded cart on the outside of the track there, so we couldn't do anything. And like I was mentioning on the first lap, if you're not, I mean, it applies to the whole race. If you're not going forward, you're going to go backwards. So I like to kind of keep an eye on what's going on behind me. So I kind of look back once or twice a lap just to see who's behind me, how close they are, where they're stronger, where they're getting the run. And some people are against looking behind you, but personally, I think it's very helpful because, like I said, you want to have a bunch of information all the time. And looking behind you is providing you with lots of useful information. You can tell who's behind you, so you can kind of plan on how aggressive they're going to be. And that goes along with knowing who you're racing. So, like in this situation here, I'm behind Pagano and Wareheim. We're up on this pack now. They're battling. So if I look back and I see that there's a line of carts behind me, I know that I've got to get through this pack, and I have to take a little bit more risk here to get through this so I don't get swamped from behind. If I look back and I've got clean track behind me, I know I can be a little bit more patient and wait for the right move that's less risky before trying to throw it down the inside and doing something stupid. So, like I said, I know these guys are racing super hard, so it's already a risky situation. So if I have breathing space behind me and I can afford to wait a little bit for a mistake, it's going to make it easier for me. And you can see again, just super aggressive, high defense. And this has opened up the window for me here. So I'm able to cross over Pagano there, get a run. Wareheim's going to drive to the bottom. We know that. But we kind of just got to go anyway. And I wanted to get that done there because I know this next section of 90-degree corners I'm pretty good in. And I want to get a gap on Wareheim before we can get to a tight corner where he's going to be able to throw it in. So you always have to be thinking like 3 or 4 steps ahead. So yeah, I wanted to get it done there because I knew I had the run, and I didn't want Pagano to get a chance to come back at me because, you know, he just got blocked for 2 straight laps. I'm sure he's not super stoked, so he might, you know, make a riskier pass just trying to get back to the front out of frustration. You don't know. So I wanted to get that gap before we got to the tight section so I could cover myself off from getting swamped from behind from those 2 guys, from an aggressive move or something. So all this time, now, where I've got a little bit of clean air here, I'm driving, watching 2 corners ahead. So I'm trying to see how these guys are racing. I'm trying to pick up who's in front of me here and plan my strategy for when I get up there. So we just closed up about 15 kart lengths under braking, which is pretty good. That's a good sign. Don't quite have the power on the straightaway here. Kind of ran out of steam. And again, that's another piece of information you want to store. I just realized, I went down the straightaway, pulled out, didn't have enough juice to get by, so now I know that this is going to have to happen in the infield. You don't want to make the same mistake 2 laps in a row. So I pulled out, it didn't work. Obviously, I'm not going to try that move again. Yes, pulling out on the straightaway and passing is the easier way to do it, but now I know that's not going to be possible, and it's going to have to be an infield pass here. And there it is. Just stuck to the inside off of that double right. Didn't go back across the track to set up and went down the bottom. We got more go-karts off the track. These guys are racing pretty hard too, so that's something to keep in mind. Now I'm going to follow through this hole here. Because even if I don't get that pass fully completed and I'm side by side, that was Brooks back there, even if I'm only side by side with Brooks, I'm going to have the inside all the way down the straightaway. And hopefully by the time we get to that corner, I'm still alongside far enough that I can claim the corner and make the pass. Little mistake there. I go to the bottom, he defends, but I'm already there. Nothing he could really do about that. Just outbrake him into 4 and keep going. So now we're closing up on these top guys here in this top pack. So we've made up a lot of ground. We've made up a lot of passes. We're in the top. We're 6th. We're 6th right now. That's a good improvement. Where do we start? Like 18th? And this is kind of the importance of being smart and efficient in your racecraft and overtaking when you have to, forcing the issue when you have to, and being patient when you have to, and kind of knowing when to do all that stuff. We don't want to be battling. We want to be making the move and being done with it. We don't want to be going back and forth. It's just going to cost you time. So you kind of got to plan it out and make your moves where you know you're going to be able to get through and you're going to be clean. Small mistake there by Mickey Andrews there, hitting the curb. And I already knew that he had been battling and he's coming back. He's dropped a few positions on this last couple laps. So I know he's probably a little bit weaker at this point in the race. So I want to get by him as soon as possible. And I can do it in a place where normally, you know, maybe that pass would be a little bit riskier. Or I would do it's before the straightaway, so there's maybe the risk he could draft past me, whatever. But since we know he might be struggling a little bit at this point in the race, and we know that he's made a mistake, he was in the grass the lap before he got run off, and he just got passed. So you want to attack while he's a little bit weak like that, so that he doesn't get a chance to settle back in. We're closing back up on Myers here. but we're running out of laps. So we look better in the infield here for sure. I've watched this video about 100 times though, and I know exactly what happens, and it's that right there. In the green corner, I just didn't get through that corner very well that lap, and he was able to gap me like 2 kart lengths, and that was really all he needed to hold me off down the straightaway. Yeah. Just didn't quite have the straightaway speed. Better in the infield, but not as good on the straightaway, and then that mistake put me too far back to get up to him. And that's the race. So yeah, I really liked that race. It was a cool one that I go back and watch a lot, just because it's a strong field, and we performed pretty well that weekend. So it's nice to go back and watch and see what we did good and what we did bad. In this particular race, I don't think we really did anything too bad. I think it was all pretty much smooth sailing. Maybe qualifying 19th was the thing I did bad, but I'm pretty used to that, so doesn't really faze me too much. I'm kind of used to having to come through a little bit because I suck at qualifying. So yeah, hopefully you guys learned something from that, and hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight of what this level of race is like as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video helpful or cool or interesting in any way, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your karting buddies. And check out the rest of my channel for more cool karting videos just like this.